down the Super Bowl, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
he had to retire.
Wow. See, these are, that, just because of the percentages, scans versus the total population, your odds are you're going to run into a person that's both an investor and has a bad back. There's no doubt about that.
Because you can really hook you up really easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? And that can even go over to asking people if they know somebody in their immediate, sphere of influence, because somebody down the road's got a back problem. I mean, they're just so common. Yeah.
I actually have not, this is a very good avenue to explore, because I haven't done this end of it, which is probably very important. But we do have two assets here. One is which Lou Benani, he's more or less involved with the investor side and has some good contacts there. But also Dave Perry had some contacts in the investor side. So we have some resources in the company. So how we could utilize them would be interesting, because this is a whole area that I feel like a newbie,
Looking at it from an investment side.
looking for investment.
You know what, and that was one of the reasons I think we came together, was because of that fact. I mean, if we look at it and we really build it as an investment that's on a gold standard already, it's really going to open your investor up in a different way. For example, we've had that conversation, I'd like to say it now, where we talked about surgeons are very difficult to get in to see. I've sold lots of things to surgeons, and I got an hour-and-a-half presentation with them. If you're trying to sell the surgeon on something medical, I think he automatically shortens and discounts it. There's that possibility. Where when he's talking to his guy over at Dean Witter, or he's talking to his buddy who's making a money in an investment, he's putting time in with that guy, because he sees that as something totally different. So if we pitch it that way, as an investment first, and really get him to feel comfortable, I think what you'll find is some people you thought before were qualified really don't end up being qualified. And maybe they need to be part of a group rather than trying to act like they can put it together by themselves.
Well, one thing that I've tried to do, because you've got a prospect, as you said, the importance of prospecting is, when I go by a big urology group or a plastic surgery practice, or even a big major dental practice that has a giant building, I usually drop off the information and ask the office manager if she'd pass this on to her doctors as an investment vehicle.
Absolutely.
And I haven't had success, but I think there's a whole different set of tools that you need to drop off with that package.
Right.
So, if we can develop that kind of a package specifically aimed at saying, hey, this is an MRI that you can invest in.
Yep.
And it has to be, the investment has to be set up such that we don't run afoul of the laws and regulations, because, just so you know, there was a time when all doctors owned imaging centers, and then they all had to divest them.
Right, because they can't.
So now we have to go back and structure it such that it's legal for them.
Right.
But they all do need to invest their monies.
I have the answer. We've studied this so carefully. What about if you did this? What if you found a bunch of doctors in New York, and you found a bunch of doctors in Chicago, and the doctors in New York bought the center in Chicago, and the doctors in Chicago?
It's called, actually, some states have it. It's part of the STAR law that they're not allowed to do cross referrals. You're talking about cross referrals. One guy's in New York, another guy's in Boston, and they send all their patients, and the other guy send their patients. It's a cross referral. It is covered in STAR issues at some point.
As far as that you're not allowed to do it?
State level, it's not a federal.
Yeah, it's a state. It's a federal state.
Florida, you can do that.
Right.
And we try to do some of those deals.
Florida, you're allowed?
Yeah, but everything is tightening up so much.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Anything that I suggest, that one was thrown out as an idea. I appreciate you letting me know, but I looked into it a little bit, and I think there's a way that two corporations can be set up with investors, where it's strictly done as an investment vehicle, where there would be nothing wrong with the doctor sending his referrals to where he wants to send them. I think we should look at the specifics of that, but you know what? I would never break a law in any deal But anything that's legal on the books, we should be able to take complete advantage of, so let's make sure we look into the viability of that.
It's legal on the books, but things change so rapidly in business.
Everything when it's changed though seems to be grandfathered in, so it doesn't make it, I don't know about that. What's not grandfathered
Let me tell you about the state of Maryland, for example. The State
Yeah.
Attorney General in Maryland has issued a decree, whatever you want to call it, that orthopods, neuros, whatever, they cannot purchase any capital or MRI, CT, surgery suite.
Right.
And in fact, he's working to have those that already have an MRI to divest themselves of it completely. The Stark laws in Maryland are stronger, stricter than they are nationally.
Yeah, I looked at them in Maryland, actually, I saw that.
I'll give you
Why do you
another
think that is that they've gone after it, just because they figure everybody was referring to
They
themselves?
don't think it, they know it. I know of a couple of MRIs that should be boat anchors
Right.
that are getting used frequently in Maryland. They're garbage. But the physician that owns them continues to send patients to that
Yes,
MRI.
Lou.
Can I make a statement about this?
Yeah,
What's going on, I think you all agree, there is some abuse going on out there, correct? And the managed care organizations attempting to limit the networks and credential and ACR accreditation, that's all designed to eliminate abusers, okay? If a guy is going to buy an upright MRI, and he's got a legal opinion, and he gets taken to court, they're going to win in the court of public opinion, because there are 10 other types of recombinant MRIs in the neighborhood doing what they shouldn't be doing, and this is the only upright MRI in town. And if it's gray, the upright MRI owner is going to get the benefit of the doubt. So I would let those things go on, but I wouldn't discourage anyone from going ahead with an in-office exemption deal just because the state of Maryland decided to get aggressive. There are levels of appeal, and I'm willing to bet that if an upright MRI owner in the state of Maryland went on appeal, in the end, they would prevail. And the guy right next door to him with a recumbent MRI would lose. So,
because the abuses are coming from all sides. I mean, there's certainly issues out there that are being fought about, medical issues that seem ridiculous, but somebody brings up the fight. They take years to do. And again, anything illegal, absolutely not looking to be involved in it. But anything that under the law is legal to do, I think you should look at those options. Now, if it can't be done, it can't be done. Maryland is a tough state law. I grew up, like I said, in Baltimore. I know the laws in Maryland, they make laws for the fun of making laws. Yes?
Since money's always an issue, even with high net worth individuals, how do you feel about, you made a comment that the surgeons can borrow money against their stock. And that intrigued me because we all know people in finance, some of us have relatives in finance. So since the stock market is so volatile, so to be educated on that would be helpful for me. And I think that we could also possibly pitch that to financial advisors.
Oh, for
If they have
sure.
the entree,
Oh, yeah.
this would be part of their mix for investment purposes.
That's how it came to me, actually, was a buddy of mine who's in the financial side. I was talking to him about this deal, and I was looking for additional sources. Because that's going to be the trick, is really putting the money together. You have assets that are there that are used all the time as collateral. And the reason they've built these programs, like, for example, only up to 65%, and there are stop gaps in there. So, for example, if the stock market started to drop, and it was going through the floor at 65%, there's probably stop gaps that at that point you would have had to do something anyway.
Are you talking about margining their position?
I'm talking, right, without making a taxable event is really the main way to try to do this. And the only way you have a taxable event is if they were to sell that security. Leveraging against it and borrowing against it is not a taxable event. So that's one way to produce liquid in deals where that's the issue. They don't want a capital gains. But again, I'm not an accountant. You should verify it wherever you're doing business that that's the way it can be done. But I know in California that's certainly something that people leverage all the time just so that they don't have to sell it and have a taxable event.
If you could